Welcome to the Brandon Cruz Daily Fantasy Podcast, video edition only, where I go and look at low plays and strategy specifically designed for GPPs. This is a show for people who are already informed on daily fantasy sports. Now, this contest operated. If you have any questions related to NASCAR that aren't stupid, feel free to send them my way on Twitter at BrandonCruzDFS or leave them in the comment section here. Most importantly, take everything you hear with a grain of salt and use your best judgment when making entries. Additionally, if you have a gambling addiction, that is just not my problem. Check your sense of feelings at the door. Let's talk about the dual races with salaries. I waited just for salaries. I started recording this, and I was like, nah, I'm going to stay up. I'm going to wait for salaries. I got salaries for you, so we're talking about this with salaries. Also, if you'd like to support me, Brandon Cruz DFS on Patreon, you can select a membership level. You can donate $1, donate $3 if you like all the free content that I put out there. If you would like my full NASCAR package for all three series, you don't have to pay for them individually. They all come with this for every single race. $18.99 a month. You get driver projections, heat maps, cores, favorite plays, and a Discord to talk to me. Now, I don't have a sheet per se, like a Google sheet that you can look at with track history and everything like that, because I use Race for the Prize. I don't understand why you would use anything else other than Pierce's work. It's all there, easy to read. I've been using that for years, so I would highly suggest go over there and look. Today, because I assume you're watching this on Thursday morning, on Thursday, because I'm recording this Wednesday evening, Thursday, 5:30 Eastern, my YouTube channel. We're going to be live, Pierce and myself, and possibly another guest talking about the duels tomorrow. So if you got any questions, hop in there and chit-chat with us. Here we are talking about duel number one. We're going to be talking about just drivers that I like. Now that we got pricing, which pricing is extremely soft, which is what I expected based off of the Clash. I like this because you can really go a lot of different ways with lineup construction. Pierce put out a video week and a half ago, 2 weeks. You can find it on his YouTube channel and on his if you go to Race with the Prize, it should be the last video that he has up on there, a link. Anyway, he's talking about optimal lineups in dual races. I'm going to assume that you have watched that video. I would recommend you watch that video because I'm going to be expanding on that, talking about that related to this race here. But long story short, I'm going to be focusing on people who I think will finish up front, mainly among the top 8 finishing positions in each race. I don't expect these duels to be that crazy, and certainly not as crazy as we thought earlier in the offseason, because there were rumblings of 48 cars, 50 cars showing up for this, and but there's people like NY Racing. They're a bunch of chickens. They're like, we can't compete, we're not showing up. So we only had 44 cars instead of the 50 aiming for 40 spots. So kind of lame there, but that's what we're dealing with. Let's get right into this. So Alex Bowman, the Hendrick drivers have typically, and on top of that, Alex Bowman is cheap at $7,000. That's way cheaper than I thought he would be. I don't think you can still play him though, because the Hendrick drivers who typically start first, and even the pole sitters, Stenhouse was kind of an exception to this, but typically the pole sitters, if they're starting on the Daytona 500 pole, they normally don't really race here. Other than Junior back in the day, Stenhouse last year. But, the pole sitters usually just fall back. They try and save their car. Because of that, I don't think he finishes very well. If he decides to race, I don't think he will. If he decides, I see him finishing, somewhere around 5th. That's the ceiling. I have him projected for around 17th because, he's going to protect that car, not really race too stupid. Eric Almirola. Last 2 duel races he's been awesome. Stuart Haas in general in duels have been awesome, but his last 2 finishes in the duels have been 2nd and 3rd. If you go back farther in his career, he has a 20th, 7th, 19th, and things like that. But I think he runs extremely well again in this duel. He's starting 2nd. He's fast, but he didn't seem like he was really trimmed out for Q. I just think the Fords and Stuart Haas are really quick again. They're not, the top echelon of qualifying, because that's what the Chevys do. But I expect Eric Almirola to stay inside the top 5, fight, around 4th most of the race. I don't think we're going to see a ton of wrecks in these races. If anything, the next race might be the crazier one. But we'll see. But I don't mind Eric Almirola at all. I think he finishes inside the top 5, and he's not bad. What is he at again? 9,300. That's easy. I mean, you can work with Eric Almirola a lot, and depending on how the public looks at these duel races, it's really weird. And we'll shift gears to Stenhouse here, but Stenhouse starting third. I love Ricky Stenhouse Jr. here. And I know people are like, how are you going to play Ricky Stenhouse? Are you stupid? He wrecks every week. He doesn't. People have crucified this poor man. People talk like he's Brian Scott or Stephen Wallace back in the Nationwide series, to where they would literally wreck every week. Stenhouse does not wreck every week. He has a bad reputation, and I think it's more the meme of people saying Ricky Stenhouse and stuff like that. He's not that bad. Certainly not in a duel race. I mean, I don't see Stenhouse causing a wreck. I don't see him racing stupid here. I mean, look at his last 3. I gotta stop doing this. I'm gonna get canceled. Look at his last 3 duel races, and heck, even look at his last 5. He hasn't wrecked. But his last 3, 8th, 2nd, 4th, 12th, and 10th, that's not bad at all. He only finished 8th last year because he had the pole car and he wasn't really racing a whole lot. He doesn't have the pole car here. He should race inside the top 5 the whole time. I really like Stenhouse in this situation. He's affordable. He shouldn't really, he's not hard to fit in lineups. And what I was going to say related to the clash last night is maybe in our little bubble, we assumed, in the DFS bubble, that we assumed that Stenhouse was just going to be chalky in the clash. I mean, he was in a great situation. He was projecting out to run extremely well based on what he could do in that car, and nobody played him. In the $8 one, he was 28.3% owned. That is horrible. Absolutely atrocious. That was a miss on the public. I don't know what that was about. I think it's people are scared to play Stenhouse. Even when he's starting last, when that was literally the time to play Stenhouse, is when he's starting last, because he can't kill you. He can't kill you that bad. I mean, Stenhouse starting third, he should have no ownership. Probably even less than 28% last night when he started third, or when he started dead last. Now he's starting third. I like Stenhouse a ton. I really, really like Stenhouse. I think he runs up there. I think he runs, I think he finishes third. I think he runs inside the top 5. I don't see him causing a wreck. I just don't see him causing a wreck. So I like him a ton. Christopher Bell, I think he can finish inside the top 8. That's really all I have to say there. He's not my favorite play, but same thing with Stenhouse. If people don't really play Christopher Bell, that was one more thing I was going to say. It's strange that us as not content creators exactly, but us as people who talk about DFS, you're constantly talking about play drivers from the back and blah, 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 plate tracks. And there's still new people who are like, why are you playing guys from the back at, plate tracks? They don't understand that. And then it's almost like the opposite of people here play guys from the back so much, they play guys from the back in the duel races, and that isn't optimal. Unless the duels are just horrible, which they haven't been in years. And I don't see it happening. I just wanted to throw that out there. Ryan Preece, I don't like him. I don't think he's a very good play. I mean, he's locked in on speed. There's no reason to race Ryan. No, absolutely no reason to race. Suarez, Trackhouse Motorsports, or Trackhouse Race, whatever the freaking name is. Trackhouse looks extremely quick. This is why I really wanted to look at practice and qualifying for these newer teams to really see what they have. And you can see the difference between Trackhouse and the Gaunt brothers with Ty Dillon in that car. I mean, this is an awesome car. Really, really quick car for Suarez. If this car has anywhere near the same speed as, or anywhere near the same type of, draftability in a pack. I know last year he wrecked in his duel, but I mean, that was a weird situation. I don't really count that against him. The other years that he's raced, 11th, 8th, and 10th, if anything, this car might be better in the pack. I have him right now for around 8th, give or take, maybe even if he finishes 5th, but he's at the very fringe of finishing inside the top 8 of what I want to aim for. And if he doesn't have a whole lot of ownership, I might use him as a way to, really get off of, or really make a, what is it called? I just went blank. like a pivot on ownership or use him to offset my ownership on higher guys. Denny Hamlin, everybody's talking about Denny Hamlin. Fox Sports, Twitter, whatever the case may be, Hamlin's going to do this. Hamlin's going to win 3 in a row. Can he win 3 in a row? I don't know if he's going to win 3 in a row. I'm not sure what he's going to do. Well, he's won the last 2. Either way, Hamlin should run extremely well. That's how it is. He's not going to wreck the field. He's not going to do anything like that. I don't see him getting caught up in a wreck. And the way that he raced the plate tracks last year, he was very aggressive in a sense of he wanted to be up in the front. He wanted to be leading those races. He wanted to be within the top 5 during the whole race. If he goes into this race with that mentality, and certainly for the 500, because he wants to go 3 in a row. I know he wants to go. I don't like the guy, but he wants to go 3 in a row. If he wants to go 3 in a row, he needs to attack the race like he has last year. And that's racing up in the front of the pack, trying to get out of whatever messes behind him. If he's going to do that, I would assume he's going to do the same thing in this duel and try and win this duel. Try and finish in the top 3 to get a good starting position for the 500, to race up front. I know starting position doesn't matter, but for Hamlin and his situation, I think it does. And I think him racing up in the front for this pack, I know it's at night and the 500 is during the day, but there's a good chance the 500 gets moved to Monday night because there's a lot of rain in the forecast for this weekend that people aren't really talking about, and we might have washouts for practice and qualifying for the other series, but that's a whole nother topic. But I think Hamlin is going to run up in the front of the pack. I think he's going to run extremely well. I love Hamlin. I'm sure the public will love him at his price, which I X'd out of DraftKings, so bear with me as I get back there. But Hamlin is an absolute great play, in my opinion. I love Denny Hamlin. If this thing could load, for crying out loud, $9,800. I mean, soft pricing. Best play in this, I think. I think Hamlin should... I think he should finish second, has a really, really good chance of winning this race. Kyle Larson, the slowest of the Hendrick cars. He didn't seem like he was trimmed out all that much compared to, how Alex Bowman was, how Chase Elliott was, even though Chase technically wasn't as quick as we kind of figured he would be. But Kyle Larson, he at the very edge, he checks that box. I know I have him for 7th right here. I see him kind of running around 8th, 9th, maybe shuffling back to 10th or 11th. But I think he'll work his way back up, finish around 7th, somewhere around there. And if that's the case, him and, Suarez are like right at the end of that. They're finishing the top 8, top 9, top 10, somewhere around that. I certainly don't want to have anybody finish outside the top 10 in my lineups. Matt DiBenedetto at the very, very, very edge of the... what the heck is this? Why did I keep that there? Matt DiBenedetto should sorry, I just lost my train of thought there. He should finish around 9th, 10th. If you look back at how he's done in these races, 7th and 4th in his last 2 dual races, I would put him up higher, but with all the good guys in this race, like I said, it's kind of a stacked race with Logano behind him, Cindric, Hamlin, Stenhouse, Almirola. Maybe Matt can swing up to like 9th, 8th, 7th, maybe, depending on how the race goes. Right now I have him around 9th, and that's just how it's going to look. Austin Cindric, he should have a very fast car. The only way he does not qualify for the 500 is if he has trouble, whether that's a wreck, whether that's issues on pit road. Other than that, I see Austin Cindric beating Dillon and beating Timmy Hill. And the guys who are green are the guys who are racing in, not locked. Then I have Ryan Preece kind of, highlighted, but he's locked in, so it really doesn't matter. But Austin Cindric, he has a fast car. Like I said, the only way he doesn't qualify is if he has an issue. Now, because he's so quick and because of how I think Penske is approaching this race, Cindric should run up in the front. I think he'll have the same mentality as Hamlin, to where he wants to run the front of this duel and the 500. If that's the case, I think Cindric can finish around 6th. I like Cindric. I don't see him riding in the back. All he has to do is outrun Ty Dillon. But, crazier things have happened. So, not only is he racing in, he has a fast car. And it's almost too fast that you really don't want to sandbag. You don't want to stay back in the duel. You want to pretty much race and see what you got here. He has Logano starting right beside him in this race. I think those two guys will link up and shoot to the front. So if you see Cindric, even Matt DiBenedetto, he's surrounded by Penske alliance. Penske cars, pretty much. I see these guys moving up the field and racing for the top fives. So I really like Cindric here. I don't know what his ownership's going to be, but his pricing really makes it work really well. I mean, Cindric at $6,500. Not only does that give you a lot of room in your salary to play whoever you want, but if people aren't as heavy on Cindric as I am, that might be a play to where you can leave a lot of money on the table and get different there. Logano right beside him, absolute great play. Don't got to tell you anything about that. I think he can win this race. I think if it's not Hamlin winning this event, it's going to be someone like Logano or Stenhouse. Ryan Newman, I don't think he works out even with his price. I mean, $7,400. That's a bit too much for Ryan Newman. And at max, he's going to finish around 11th. I know he's going to have a lot of talks about him. And I mean, he was optimal in a lot of plate tracks. I mean, he's been optimal in the past. Maybe the public, keeps hearing about Newman and how he's going to be, he's just conquering the track, and he almost lost his life here, and he's coming back, and I don't know about that. And if you look at his last dual races, 3rd, 9th, 6th, 7th, last 4 dual races, but I just don't see it. I don't see him running that good. There's a lot of good guys in here, and a lot of people who should finish ahead of him. Cole Custer jumping back on the Eric Almirola train of if I think Eric Almirola is going to race up in the front, I think Cole Custer is going to do the same thing. Cole Custer, if you look back at how he did in this race last year, he finished 5th in his dual race. That tells me a lot about how he is as a driver, how this organization is with rookie drivers. So you can argue with this with Chase Briscoe in the other race as well, but Cole Custer should be a top 8 contender. I really like his price as well. I mean, I like everybody's prices. You can make anything work. But Cole Custer being at 7,200, right under Ryan Newman. I like him a lot. I think he's a great play. Michael McDowell, possibly a 12th place finisher. Not too crazy there. Eric Jones and Tyler Reddick. I like them a lot too. I mean, Eric Jones is 8,000. Reddick is 8,200. I think that a lot of people are going to try and put these guys together in a lineup. I mean, those two by themselves are leaving an average salary of $8,450 for the remaining 4 drivers. I think you only need to play one of these guys. I don't think playing both of them is optimal. I could be wrong. It depends on how the race goes, but I only think you need one of these guys. Well, they're very equivalent to me. I would give the edge to Eric Jones, just because I don't like jumping on the narrative, he has to show up, he has to, put on a show, he has to get attention to himself. But I think he's going to show up and put attention to himself and his team and what he can do in this car. So I would give the edge to Jones if you're playing one of these guys, but I like them both. Ty Dillon, look, he gets in or crashes. He is fighting Austin Cindric. That's the only way he's going to get in. Now, you can look at this 2 ways. You can look at, Austin Cindric blows the door off this man. Ty Dillon has no chance. Or if Cindric is running up in the front like I think he's going to do, you're going to see Ty Dillon trying to do everything in his power to run up in the front as well and pass Austin Cindric. What way do you think it goes? I don't think Ty beats Cindric straight up. I think Cindric races, and I think the best he can do is 12th by himself. Looking at 7th as his ceiling. Looking at 7th as his ceiling. If he's racing Cindric hard, but that's why I kind of have a DNF factor as high here, because I think he's checkers or wreckers, man. He's qualified or wrecked. That's how it's going to be, and he has a lot of money on it, man. Bass Pro Shop, that is not a cheap sponsor. I know it's because he's an RCR boy, but that sponsor's looking for a return on investment. Jay McMurray, maybe people look at him for chalk. I mean, I have him at the max, finishing 12th, maybe 7th as a ceiling. I don't see that. Maybe the industry goes to him, or not the industry, but the casuals. I mean, 7,700 for McMurray in a car that's just not that fast. If I'm Jamie, I don't care about this race. I just want to start the 500. Quinn Hoff, no way in hell I'm playing Quinn Hoff. I'm not playing Ware or Balicki in here. I don't see them being optimal. Timmy Hill is interesting. I mean, he needs the non-lock-ins to have trouble. Who is that? Ty Dillon and Austin Cindric. That's the only way he makes the 500. He doesn't have the motor. He doesn't have the speed. But if we get a late race caution, some shenanigans at the end, and we got like a green-white checkered, and people are pitting for tires. Expect Timmy Hill to stay out and try and make something happen here. Those are my thoughts for Duel 1. Let's go ahead and look at Duel number 2 right here. Let me bring up the other pricing because I don't have them on the sheet or anywhere I can look at it really easily, so I apologize. Give me half a second there. Thank you very much. All right, looking at this one here. A lot of good plays, a lot of interesting guys to look at here. Like I said, I'm going to focus on guys who I think can finish up front. I'm aiming for, top 8 finishers. I like Duel 1 more in a sense of I think there's more ways to pivot. I don't think there's nearly as much chalk as Duel number 2. But we'll talk about that as we get through here. William Byron, same situation as Bowman. He's going to be starting second. No reason to race. However, I do think Byron has a higher chance of staying up front compared to Bowman in the first duel. So I have him around 9th. Even if he finishes 9th, he's going to lose too many place differential for you. But that's where I think he works. Bubba Wallace ran with the Joe Gibbs Racing cars early. I mean, really, he's just another Joe Gibbs car. I know Mike Joy was like, I don't know what type of car he's running. I don't know. I did. And then Hamlin's like, oh, but we were working up till 1 a.m. trying to get this thing. Shut up. This is a Joe Gibbs car. You guys are acting like you just mill this car, in like this back alley. Bubba Wallace has one of the best cars in this series. So, I mean, stop selling yourself short. Stop selling his equipment short. The Bubba Wallace, I mean, if anything, he's still one of the only cars who actually had pack practice. I know it's 5 cars, but he was at least there. He was extremely fast in the draft. He was extremely fast as a lead car in that 5-car little group that they had. I like Bubba Wallace a ton here. Ownership, I don't know if people play him or not. I really don't. I haven't listened to anything because, like I said, pricing just came out. Nobody's really making the videos right now. I imagine we'll have a few more in the morning, but ownership on Bubba is going to be really difficult to pin down. I would lean towards being higher than a driver starting second should. So maybe like 25, 30% ownership. This is off the top of my mind. If that's the case, I'll be over that because I really like Bubba here. I really like playing Bubba here. Kevin Harvick, great play. Once again, Stuart Haas car should run up front. If you look at his last 5 duels, 4th, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, it clicks everything for me. Top 4 car should easily finish top 8. Perfect. I like that. Should be a guy who can lead laps. Bubba Wallace could get fast laps. Harvick, most likely going to lead laps. Austin Dillon here, a bit more shaky, but last 4 duels finishing inside the top 10. That's what we want to see here. The faster car out of the RCR group. I really like Austin Dillon. I just don't know how good of a play he is. I have him finishing, around 7th with a ceiling of maybe 3rd. I don't know how often it is that he hits that ceiling, but if he hits around 7th, 6th, 5th, even if he stays where he's at, I don't mind playing him at all. Chase Elliott, the pure chalk. I mean, everybody's going to be wanting to play Elliott. That's just how this is going to be. There's nothing else to really say here. He should be a huge favorite. David Reagan should drop to the back. There's no reason to race. I mean, he could race. He's been all right, but if you look at his last dual races, I know he hasn't really had to lock himself in, and he was talking to Bob Pockris about, it's a bit different going into it because normally he's just focusing on the 500. He doesn't have to worry about being locked in, but I don't think he races that hard. And, I think he finishes around 13th. He's certainly better than these cars back here, than these backmark or underfunded bastards back here. But, around 13th or something like that. Kurt Busch, I like Kurt Busch a lot. Should finish inside the top 4. If you look at his last 5 dual races, 8th, 5th, 3rd, and 3rd. Perfect. Don't got to say anything else there. Kyle Busch is a bit more interesting here because he either does extremely well or extremely poor in the duels, and poor in a sense of how optimal can he be. His last 5 duel finishes 13th, 18th, 5th, 11th, and 1st. Kind of a toss-up here. Kind of a coin flip. I have him around for 10th. Not sure that's going to work. Ryan Blaney starting 9th. Perfect. I mean, $10,000 for Ryan Blaney isn't bad at all. It should be higher, but yet again, soft price and everything. That's what we expect. He should be, I guess I forgot to write that. He should be chalky as, I'm not even going to bother fixing that. He should be chalky as well. Kaz Grala, he's racing Garrett Smithley and Noah Gragson. I'll talk about Noah when we get down there. I like Kaz Grala a lot. All he has to do is outrun Noah Gragson, but Kaz has a fast car. If anything, he deserves to be locked in. That's how it is. I really like him. I don't know what the ownership's going to be on him, but Kaz Grala at a really cheap price of $6,400 I love it. I absolutely love it, especially if you look at people, or at people, individuals might play around his price. You got Alfredo, you got Busher, you got LaJoy as names who kind of pop off right beside him. So Kaz Grala might get left, behind. And a lot of people don't even know who Kaz Grala is. So maybe I just, I really like Kaz, but some people just know him for filling in for Austin Dillon at the road course and for his truck win. So it really just depends on who decides to play him and whatnot. Chase Briscoe, looking back, how I just talked about Cole Custer and how he did last year, Chase Briscoe should do the same thing, should be running around 8th to 4th. He does not have experience in these packages, so he would be a guy I would look at to possibly lose it out of turn 4 just due to the draft. But that's extremely low, and he has more talent, and certainly more talent than Derek Hope in here. But I like Chase Briscoe too. Chase Briscoe's pricing is really soft as well. $6,700 for him, $6,400 for Kaz Grala. You're going to be on an island, I think, if you play either one of those guys. Maybe Kaz Grala more if you play them together. I think that's certainly a viable option. Chastain, I don't like. I'm not interested in at all. Keselowski should be very chalky. Everybody knows he's a great plate racer. His pricing 10-2 should easily work no matter what you're doing. Same thing with Trix. I like Trix slightly more because his price allows lineups to be a bit different at $9,200. That's why I have him as an A and Keselowski as a B, just based on pricing. I like the discount I get from Martin Truex Jr., but they are both great plays. Ceiling of 5th for both. 7th and 5th, 5th and 7th. You can go back and forth on those guys, but that's just how I look at it. Chris Buescher, not interested. I think he could finish 10th, but I'd much rather play some of the guys starting up front. I'd much rather play the place differential between 8th and 14th. That's just how it is. Anthony Alfredo would probably be the last guy in the grid that I'd want to focus on for place differential. I think he's going to finish around 12th. I think a more realistic finishing position for Anthony Alfredo is like 14th, 15th. But that's just how it is. That's just how I look at it. And also, going back to Keselowski, he's either really good or really bad at the duels. If you look at his last 5 races, 4th, 20th, 16th, 4th, and 13th, I think this is a race that he does very well in. That's why I just had that there as well. I've already talked about Anthony Alfredo. Corey LaJoie, not interested. And once again, I don't understand why LaJoie is acting like this is the best car he's ever been in, because qualifying time at Daytona will show you how fast you are, and when you are that far off the pace of the leader, what was he at? Let me just look right fast. Let's rant about LaJoie for a few moments here. Come on, LaJoie, where you at, buddy boy? LaJoie was 35th in time. Let's look at his, sorry about this, 35th in time, 48.7 at 184. Pole was at, I won't even look at pole. 4th place was 189, 47.47. So, over a second, slower. That's ridiculous. His motor, those cars are trash. Get out of here, LaJoie. You ain't good. Garrett Smithley, talking about cars that are kind of trash here. Corey LaJoie has a better car than Timmy Hill, who is in another MBM entry in the 66. However, depending on how well Timmy Hill does in duel number 1, I'm very interested in Garrett Smithley. So we have to check and see what the MBM strategy is. If Timmy Hill, for whatever reason, kind of shows some speed or shows some light at some point but doesn't qualify in, expect MBM to take a lot of risk with Garrett Smithley. So say if Timmy Hill, if he doesn't qualify and he finishes around 20th, never really had a chance, Carl Long doesn't want to go home with not a car in the race. So Garrett Smithy would most likely race very aggressive. He was a bit faster, and this is why I do like to look at speed here. I mean, he wasn't that much faster than Timmy Hill. Timmy, he ran a 50.0, and Garrett Smithley did a 49.8. About half a mile per hour faster between the two cars. But I think Garrett Smithley is going to take a lot more chances in this race than Timmy Hill would. So just keep that in mind. So maybe I don't see it really working out. I just don't see it. BJ McLeod, 78 car. I love him for the 500. I love a lot of these guys for the 500, just not for the duels. Noah Gragson, he has to race his way in. He has absolutely nothing to lose. However, we've seen mechanical issues plague the Beard Motorsport car before. We saw 2 years ago, Brendan Gaughan talked about how he had brake issues. And nobody talked about this either. This is back when I still had Sirius XM, so I was able to listen. I still have it, but I don't have the NASCAR radio because it's too expensive. But Gaughan was talking about how often mechanical failures happen with this car, and he was talking about in his dual race, he actually had a brake rotor crack, and he just so happened to not have to use the brakes for the rest of the race. If they had a caution at the end of that dual race and he had to hit the brakes, it would have shattered that rotor and just destroyed the car. It would have lost whatever corner it was on, the front corner. It would have shattered, torn the brake lines off, just destroyed the car. And so Gragson not even taking a Q lap didn't even surprise me, because this car almost always has issues at the road course. I know it was the road course, but they had trouble at the road course. They had mechanical issues there. That's why Gaughan started off very quick in that road course race and then just fell off. I mean, for the first couple laps, he was doing decent speed, and then he fell off because they had a mechanical issue. So, do I think he has a mechanical issue again? No, I think they start the race. Do I think Gragson has a mechanical issue during the race? No, I don't think so. But that possibility is always there. It's a lot higher. It's higher and more uncomfortable than I want to really admit. I'm not very interested in him. I think a lot of people will be, because Gragson is at 5,500. They see him in that Beard Motorsports car, the one that Brendan Gaughan drove it, and people are going to be like, oh, this is a lock. Brendan Gaughan was always a lock. We got to play him. And they're not going to really pay attention to what situation he's in and how he's going to be racing. So that's the situation. And if anybody's going to wreck in this race, it's going to be Gragson. That's just how it's going to be. Because, let me go back again and bring up something that I found interesting, and that was how many Q laps he did. And I just want to make sure before I say it. There we go. The 62 car ran 4 laps. I know we had like BJ McLeod and people run less than that, but running 4 laps with this car and then having engine trouble and just not really being on the pace, even in single car runs, I think it's more Gragson than the car. You can look at the story of Mark Beard passing away and his wife telling Gragson to drive the piss out of the car, but I don't see it at all. And those are my thoughts on the drivers on this race. Now, if you have any questions or if you would like to talk to us, we're going to do another live stream Thursday, which I'm assuming you're watching this on Thursday. But Thursday, 5:30 Eastern, Race for the Prize and I are going to be live with possibly another guest, so keep your eyes out for that. I'll keep you updated on Twitter. Thank you guys for watching. Look out for all the other Cup Series and Truck Series and Xfinity stuff that I do on this channel. But thank you guys for watching. Best of luck in the duels, and we'll talk to you later. Peace out.